What is happening out there, Roto Scouts football fans? Monday night football, Niners, Vikings. Should be a good one, hopefully. These primetime games, I feel like I'm always saying that, and then we get some clunkers. How'd everybody do? We got Fanatic and Cujo in the chat so far saying hi to one another. Fanatic says, hope everyone's having a good day and is safe. I'm going to pop that on the screen because I hope so too. I hope everybody had a great start to their week. I hope everybody had a great end to last week with Sunday. Hopefully you guys had a better Sunday than I did. Kind of a rough one for me. I was behind the field on Lamar like I said I was going to be, and that obviously did not go well. He did not respond well to being featured in the unders part of the, or the below part of the above below column. I was only short by like a point and a half on him. It wasn't like I was saying don't play him. I said emphatically, got to go to him, got to include him in your pools, but I was a little bit behind the field, and everything else in those lineups was perfect. I had a bunch of Tonto Foreman. I had a bunch of, what's-his-face from Cleveland. I had so much good stuff, but for a lack of Lamar and probably way too much Jordan Love, because that one obviously didn't work out. Kind of took my Sunday down. And then to top it off, I come in, I popped up after my nap, I woke up, I popped up the Showdown projection, sat here, built out Showdown lineups, got to 5-10 minutes before lock, said, hey, let me run one more set. I want to drop a few more lineups in here. Something that I did with that last set of lineups, and I have no idea how or why it would have happened because I didn't even think the players were in the file that I uploaded. Ended up with a bunch of guys that weren't playing, weren't projected in that pool of lineups, and completely screwed everything up on me. Ended up in the process of trying to clear all those guys out, missing lock, and running a train. Fortunately, I actually had a viable lineup in. Unfortunately, it did not cash. So that was a little bit painful with the Showdown slate last night. So I'm coming into this one looking to scrap back some cash here, gang. Looking at this one to fix my weekend, fix my results for this week. It's a good one. I think we've got some options. I think there's some interesting ways to put some lineups together. I took some time before the show to preset everything so I don't have to scramble, so I don't screw up whatever I screwed up last night. Kicking myself, though, because I did have a good set of lineups that I could have just run that had a ton of Jalen Hurts captain. It was like all set. For whatever reason, I was like, one more chunk of 300 lineup to drop in here. Some weeks you just shoot yourself in the foot. But that's why we keep on grinding, right? So let's get back into this one. Hopefully you guys did better than that. Looks like we got a decent crew coming in. Larry C's here. Larry won a decent on FanDuel. Didn't find that out till an hour ago. Couldn't get into his account last night. Ooh. Well, hey, at least there's some winnings there to find out about, Larry. That's good. I know you were off to a good start with the running back pool and everything that we were talking about. So that's great, buddy. Good job. Trey didn't seem like he had a great week. Second unprofitable week only, so it's all right. Yeah, it's been a good season. I mean, this was the first down, truly down week for me. But we'll get it back tonight. That's the plan anyway. 4-prong dingers there. Digger. I keep saying dinger because I'm still in baseball mode. Got the Phillies and the Diamondbacks on right over there. D-backs up 3-1 after 4 innings. Got out on, pounded a couple early home runs off Nola. Should be a good one, though. I think this one's going to shape up, turn into a Phil's get back in it. It's 3-1. I mean, it's not like it's crazy, but it's got the feel of like a good game going down the stretch of this game here. Mamba says Joker loved the Lamar and Cat Poo play. I should have played him. That's basically what that slate was, right? Fanatic says can't complain. Trey got his Dutches. Pretty good. Changing it up from joints usually. Okay. Yeah, usually if I'm smoking something out of something paper or whatever, it's I got the cones. These are a great invention. They're so easy. Reminds me of way back in the day. 15 years old, 16 years old, whatever it was, when we first started dabbling. We would, you couldn't get papers, couldn't get like anything. We were all like, basically at home. So our move was always to grind out the tobacco in a cigarette and basically use it like a cone. So I kind of feel like I invented that. Where's my royalty payments there, Easy Wider? I'm pretty sure we didn't invent that. What's up, Melissa? Melissa's here. Melissa says, yo, go Rangers. Big game coming up later on for the Rangers. I don't know which of those two teams I'm rooting for, to be honest. I've enjoyed that Rangers team this year. Not a big Texas guy, but I've enjoyed that Rangers team. My uncle lives in the Dallas area. I'm sure he's enjoying it. Houston's beaten my guys a couple times, beaten everybody. That's just such a good Houston team. It's difficult to root against them too hard. But yeah, I think I'm with you on the Rangers side there. A little bit more fun. Be more fun to see them do it. Jordan Montgomery, I'm rooting for. So there's a couple good reasons. Trey says, "Go anyone not named the Phillies." All right, let's get into this one. I do want to keep this moving because I do want to have time to make sure that I'm not screwing anything up going into lock. And we're an 15 start today. So we'll go through this. 2 teams to talk about. And then we'll take a quick look at some lineups afterward in the lineup builder. And then we'll keep on, we'll jump off and build some lineups and get things out of here. 44-point total. I don't want to jinx it by saying it. I mean, I know I already said it should be a good one. But it does feel like this should be a decently competitive game. It would be a much, much better spot for DFS and for, kind of some surety of scoring, obviously, if they had Justin Jefferson on the other side. So, unfortunately, we still got, we're dealing with a Vikings offense that is lacking him. But they were somewhat reasonable the last time out. There are 2 somewhat skilled receivers in Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne to work with. They've still got the premium tight end in TJ Hawkinson, an okay running back, decent kicker. Defense is popping up a little bit at cheap pricing. So I don't mind the Viking side. The Niners side, it kind of evens out because they're without Debo today. They do have McCaffrey. He's playing presumably a little bit banged up, but if he's out there, he's out there. And I think we're getting him, we got to consider him full go. And with Debo out, it kind of lends to McCaffrey's going to get those, or at least potentially get those couple of weird rushes they call for Debo, maybe get a couple of Debo's targets. They've got a great receiver in Brandon Ayuk to work with here. Pretty capable quarterbacks on both sides, by the way. I left Kirk Cousins out of the Vikings rundown there, but I think we all know he's at least decent. Not projecting for a monster, but it's Kirk Cousins. He's all right. Kittle, premium tight end. We've got, Kittle, very high-end tight end to kind of match the TJ Hawkinson play from the other side. Gets a little thin around like Jawan Jennings, Ray McLeod if he's the next guy up in that receiving attack. Ronnie Bell just drops down here. There's nothing really to speak of backup tight end-wise. Josh Oliver might be the guy in that scenario. Couple of targets maybe going his way, but not a lot of action. These guys soak up just way too much at the tight end position. Where the hell's Kittle? There he is. The defense on the Niners side, probably going to be a popular play, but projects out very, very well. Obviously, it's a premium defense. They're a little bit expensive overall, but well worth getting to, I think. So both sides, I'm going to include the defense, the kicking games. I could see, as much as, I'm saying, I do think that it stays competitive, and I do think we get to around above, I don't want to say above, because that implies I like the over, which I don't necessarily, but around the Vegas total. I think is appropriate, but there's also a reasonable path to see this game turning into kind of a clunker where San Francisco doesn't do or need to do a ton of scoring because their defense is kind of dominating a Jefferson-less Vikings, and they're just keeping them in check, and we're just getting kind of a rush-heavy game on the Niners side, which is how they like to play anyway. They play a slow-paced game, a rush-heavy game, so I could see this turning a bit grindy, especially if San Francisco gets up early. Give San Francisco 10 early points and let them sit on it, it might get problematic for DFS scoring. And that's probably your day where it's just Christian McCaffrey day, and then whatever else, falls in around it. But in the idea of potential low-scoring days, there are, good kickers, reasonable defenses on both sides. The Vikings, 18th against the pass, but 9th against the rush, 3.7 yards per rush attempt, 6.5 yards per pass attempt. On the Niners side, 4 yards per rush attempt ranks 15th, 3 yards per pass attempt is terrific, ranks third. 5.1 yards per pass attempt ranks third. Getting a little mixed up between my columns here. Granted, I've only been awake for like an hour and a half. Slept all day after being up like 48 straight hours over the weekend. So getting into some of the, I didn't lay these out yet. Let me grab these. Knew I forgot to do something. This will just take a second. A lot of irrelevant running backs down the board here too, on both sides. Akers, I don't really know what to expect from Akers. He's been pretty limited in what they've allowed him to do. It's been mostly the Madison show since he's been there. But if we're looking to spread things out, it is a day where embracing some of these lousy-ish downstream options is probably going to be valuable if if you land on the one that hits. This is also not a column we want. Fuck, I didn't mean to do that. All right, anyway. Look at the quarterback side of things. San Francisco, like we said, a top 5 defense against the pass. It was, third ranked? 5.1 yards per pass attempt, allowing less than 200 yards through the air per game. Only 5 passing touchdowns allowed on the season. 7.7 yard ADOT is encouraging in the idea that Cousins might unleash a couple down the field. Obviously, though, again, without his best weapon, it's kind of a problematic situation for the pass game here. So I don't love the Vikings offense. We're getting a lot more out of the San Francisco offense, I think. We've got a little bit higher level players. With that said, Brock Purdy's going to be facing a ton of blitzes. Look at that blitz rate, 57.9%. 23.6% pressure. They've gotten 18 sacks in 6 games. They're getting to the quarterback. Young QB, I know he's played well. I know it seems like he's the next miracle man from the late in the draft, last pick overall. I'm still not totally sold. I want to see him succeed in a sustained level, without having some of the best players in the league supporting him, and let's see him do things. But he's played well. There's no arguing with that. But it's going to be interesting to see him facing this much pressure. That's also one reason that I do think that the Vikings defense is a little bit viable. They get to him a number of times, maybe grab a pick, at least give you that solidified point total for defense, and then it doesn't really matter what they give up. On the season, he's thrown 10 touchdown passes, only 1 pick. I mean, he's been certainly very good. 8.6 yards per pass attempt, 5.2 air yards per attempt completed, 7.9 intended air yards per attempt, 7.7 for Cousins, completing 4.5. He's thrown 14 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. Purdy's had 2 rushing touchdowns to add to his total. Neither of these quarterbacks runs the ball all that much. 2.1 yards per rush attempt for Purdy, 1.7 for Cousins. Just dealing with some scrambles and some sneaks really overall here. They throw the ball a decent amount in the red zone on both sides. There's plenty of opportunities for quarterback scoring here. That Cousins projection looks oddly low. Why is that low? I thought that was higher. Hold on one second. Let me open another file here. Cousins is the player on whom we are furthest behind the industry average in this one. About 1.5, 2 points back. I think it's justifiable. It just popped in front of me. I didn't fully absorb how low that was. It's about 5 points below what he's averaged for the season, but he hasn't been playing against the San Francisco pass defense all season. We're about a point off of RG's projection. A little bit further behind some other ones. I'm comfy with it, though. And don't save. I don't know if you guys can hear me. This seems like it's going... slowed things down while I did that. Yeah, Trey, I'm not sure what to make of the Mason situation. I think it's Mitchell. In last week's game, we didn't hop to that. And really, it's just McCaffrey. I think if McCaffrey's out there, they're just going to give him the volume, and it's just going to be the McCaffrey day. But looking at it, Mason 7 snaps last week, 2 carries. Mitchell had 15 snaps, carried the ball 5 times, 27 yards, scored a touchdown. 10 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown the week before. I think it's Mitchell. That's how we got to project it anyway. You've got Juszczyk there, catching some passes, running some routes, doing his thing. Minimal projection, but he's a dart throw. I wouldn't say that Juszczyk is completely uninteresting. But yeah, between the two more viable guys, I do think Mitchell, just based on the snap total, and it's a minimal snap total, right? 15 snaps is minimal. But the 5 carries is obviously, the more encouraging carry total, 5 versus 2. And the fact that he scored a touchdown is obviously encouraging. I think he's a talented kid. But could it be a little bit of both because McCaff is banged up? Yeah, I do think that's potential. Like, say, that's 22 total snaps. McCaffrey carried the ball 11 times last week, was 3 of 3 in the passing game for 9 yards and a touchdown, 13 routes. He only played 30 snaps. The week before, he played 48 snaps, 19 carries, 51 yards and a touchdown, 2 of 3 through the air for 27 yards on 20 routes run. So say you give some of that volume from the week before, but I think it kind of results in just like, what we saw from them last week with maybe a few additional snaps. Maybe Mitchell gets up to, 18, 20, Mason cracks 10, but it's very limited. It's showdown, so you can make those plays. If I'm deciding between the two, I probably go Mitchell. 8,700, 5,800 for Mason, so he's a little bit more expensive between the two on DK, so you get that bonus out of it. 10.5, Mason's a little bit less expensive on the FanDuel slate. Ignore these rankings columns, by the way. Didn't take the time to clean this up for you guys. Apologies. Larry says, I think I'd prefer Juszczyk over Mason. It was a noble attempt to spell his name. I didn't even bother. Juszczyk had a catch for 9 yards last week. The week before, more importantly, 4 catches for 29 yards and a touchdown. Gets regular snaps, regular routes run. He had 11 routes run on 30 snaps last week, 10 routes run, and 4 catches and a touchdown on 27 snaps the week before. Week before that, ran 15 routes on 35 snaps. So he's out there doing things. It's just, he's low in the pecking order. But 55% of the snaps, he's out there significantly more. If you're just looking for guys who are on the field, he's out there significantly more than Mason and Mitchell. Do Mason and Mitchell have more scoring potential? Probably. They touch the ball a little bit more. But Juszczyk's also been targeted 4 times in the red zone so far. That's not uninteresting. For a showdown slate, I think you can absolutely, and I usually do, roll some Juszczyk. I like him a lot better at the minimal DK pricing, 600, 900, than 55 on FanDuel. But 55 on FanDuel it's just your low-end guy that you can plug and play. I certainly like him better than CJ Ham on the other side, who just doesn't touch the ball at all. Ham has not had a touch since week 3. So if you're looking for your cheap running back, it's definitely Juszczyk over CJ Ham. On the Vikings side, Madison, 18 carries last time out, 44 yards, was targeted 7 times in the passing game for 28 more yards. He ran 16 routes, 43 snaps, 43 snaps, 7 targets, and all those carries. That's a ton of volume. That's 22 touches with the potential for 25. That is a lead number 1 running back. Cam Akers, just 1 carry last time out, 8 yards plus 1 of 1, so he caught 1 ball, targeted once. For 7 more yards. He had 5 carries each of the first 2 games. Hasn't been a big option. He was targeted twice in each of the first 2 games, 2 catches. So basically the opportunity for 7 touches a game for Cam Akers the first 2, and then that got reduced to just 2 touches last time out. That's not great. B-Town says, I thought you spelled it right. Yeah, that is one of the more difficult names in the world to spell. Juszczyk. It's always that second Z that trips me up. I'm like, all right, I know there's a Z in there somewhere. I know it ends in YK. Couple of C's, couple of S's. I think I wrote an article once where I just put like JSCZ, JSCZ, just to be obnoxious about it. So yeah, Akers, minimal touches. CJ Ham just not involved at all. I wouldn't even throw the CJ Ham dart. He's probably out of my player pool. Madison, definitely could consider him a bell cow level back, though. I do think that he's very involved here. I do think that he's a high priority option. 6,600, 9,000, 9,900 on the DK slate. Not a bad option for a discounted captain even. He's going up against a brutal rush D, obviously. They're allowing 80 yards a game, only 4 yards per rush attempt. And they've only allowed a half a touchdown a game. But he's not bad. I mean, 3.9 yards per rush attempt. No rushing touchdowns on the season is concerning. But he gets plenty of targets. He gets plenty of targets in the red zone. He's got 2 receiving touchdowns, pushing 5 targets a game. That is a very, very involved running back. So it's monster, yes. Probably the number 2. Dart throw. Pretty big, yes. Meh, but you got to use them in, I think, a few. I think you roll some Akers lineups in there. Hope that he gets the right carry in the right spot. Akers, what are we doing in the red zone? In his first week, they gave him the ball once in the red zone, and he has been completely untargeted in the red zone since coming to Minnesota. It's not great. 9 snaps last week. Like I said, it was the diminished potential touches, and it came on diminished snaps last time out. 14 snaps, 19 snaps the first 2 weeks, and then just 9 last week. Not great. But I think you got to roll it a couple times, at least for some touchdown equity if he does happen to get that call. Ty Chandler's not in here. I didn't project Ty Chandler. He's seen no snaps with the offense since week 3. He's only playing on special teams. He'd be, I guess, the next man there to touch the ball. Okay, Joker. Thank you. And then Kane competing with Kyle Juszczyk. Nwangwu, I want to say. Nwangwu. W-U. Nwangwu. Might just be Wangwu. I think that first N might be silent. He hasn't played yet this season, but they did activate him from IR. Expected to see most of his snaps on special teams. Oh, he's been in... I don't know this guy at all. Kick returner. Got it. So I wouldn't play him. Unless you want to throw some darts at your kick return spot. But yeah, I mean, it's outside of Madison, there's really not much on the ground on the Minnesota side. Just since I brought him up. Now I gotta look at this guy's return stats. Last year, 920 yards of kick returns and a touchdown. Year before that, 579 yards and 2 touchdowns returning kicks. So 2 pretty solid years as a return man. So yeah, I don't know how much Akers I get to, but it'll be a little bit. Tons of Madison. Probably nobody else from that ground game. Moving on. Hawkinson, top target in the passing attack. Whoops. In the passing attack here. Led the team last week in receptions and yardage. Took him a little while to get going, but ended up leading the team. Too many clicks. He was 43 snaps, ran 25 routes, 6 of 8 for 50 yards. Week before that, caught 5 of 8 passes for 51 yards. 2 touchdowns on the season. They both came in week 2 against Philadelphia. He's a premium, very, very high-end tight end. Whoops. Runs routes more than half the time that he's out there. 58% last time, 62% route run average. He's targeted most of the time that he runs a route. Quarter of the time that he runs a route. On average, 32% of the time. Last week. 1.6 yards per route run. Addison drawing a 12.5 yard ADOT. He's got 4 touchdowns on the season. He's the nominal 1 with Jefferson out. Caught 3 of 5 passes last week. Only 28 yards, but scored a touchdown. Ran 31 routes on 48 snaps. Typical, usual workload for him. 6 of 9 the week before that for 64 yards and a touchdown. Ran 34 routes that week. He had touchdowns in weeks 1 and 2, and then in weeks 5 and 6 so far. But should see most of the workload. KJ Osborne, the nominal number 2. 4 of 5 last week for 48 yards, ran 30 routes on 51 snaps. Caught 5 of 9 passes on 40 routes the week before. Touchdowns in each of weeks 2 and 3. Plenty of red zone targets for KJ Osborne. All 3 of those guys get pretty decent amount of looks in the red zone. It's weird to see both of these guys outpacing TJ Hockenson with red zone targets, though. That'll probably normalize. Maybe as soon as tonight. Could be a good day for TJ Hockenson. But yeah, plenty of looks in the red zone for these guys. And then they're working in Brandon Powell a little bit. He stepped up. He went from 1 snap with the offense 3 weeks ago to 21 2 weeks ago, and then 32 snaps with the offense last week. He was targeted 4 times, caught 3 passes, put up 20 yards. I don't know why I put the notes on like the far side of the screen so it looks like I'm like talking like this. I can just put them right here so it's kind of in my eye line. Yeah, 20 yards on the 25 routes that he ran in the 32 snap game. In the 21 snap game 2 weeks ago, 4 of 6 for 43 yards on 14 routes run. He's going to be the third man. 8.5 yard ADOT for the season. He's been targeted twice in the red zone on the limited opportunities so far. Presumably that continues. 1.7 yards per route run. N'Keal Harry's on this team, but just 1 snap with the offense all season. 0 last week. Played 4 special team snaps last week. Not really expecting a ton. Tristan Jackson played 4 snaps with the offense last week. 0 routes run. Not expecting a ton. Don't even have him projected. So it's pretty focused around these 3 guys and then Hockenson, with Hockenson being the prime target there. But Oliver's involved. Oliver last time out ran two routes, no targets, 22 snaps. The week before, caught 1 of 2 passes, 15 yards, scored a touchdown on 2 catches for 4 yards in week 3. His route running, 11, 6, 8, 4, 8, 2. Limited opportunities. Week 1, 3 targets. 3 targets the next week. 2, 0, 2, 0. His reception totals are similar to that. They map exactly to that, except he had just 1 catch, 1 of 2 in week 5. It's the only time he didn't catch it. 1 touchdown. Very limited, but if we're looking for that showdown style, cheapo tight end to throw into the mix, I think Oliver's probably our guy, because the guys on the other side not really involved like at all. Dwelly, 4 snaps with the offense last week, 15 the week before, 1 route each week, no targets. Charlie Warner, 5 snaps with the offense last week, 22 the week before, 0 catches or targets. Limited routes run, 2, 1, 5, 0, 6, 1. Between the 3 viable backup tight end guys, it's probably Josh Oliver. Johnny Mund has 1 catch all year for 11 yards on 1 target. His snap totals have cracked 10 1 week. He saw 5 targets ran 5 routes that week. He's been targeted just the once and caught it for 1 catch for 11 yards. I wouldn't play Johnny Munt. He's out of the player pool. So it is these guys, this guy priority, kind of just basically in this order. Top priority, just straight on down the projection list. But that's the pool of receivers on the Viking side. And then 2 premium A-plus type targets here, which is kind of why those other tight ends don't see any action. Starting with Kittle, ran 27 routes on 54 snaps last week. Only caught 1 of 2 passes for only 1 yard in a weird one. And he had a game like that in week 4. Caught just one pass for 9 yards despite running 17 routes on 51 snaps. In between, 21 routes run on 52 snaps, 3 of 4 for 67 yards, and 3 touchdowns in week 5 against Dallas. Those were his only touchdowns of the season. But he had another decent day in week 3. 90 yards on 7 of 9. So the targets have been a little bit back and forth, but he is a premium tight end. We know that. I have no issues with playing plenty of George Kittle. I think he fits in perfectly into the plans here. 1.6 yards per route run on the season, averaging 4 targets a game, but Two of those were, the kind of low-end clunkers, and he's seen games with big target totals. For 7,200 on the DK slate, I like that a lot. For 10,000 on the FanDuel slate, it's a fair price. Perfectly happy to go there. Going up against the defense that's allowing a little bit through the air. 1.5 touchdowns a game, 218 yards. Brandon Ayuk, last time out was targeted 10 times, caught 4 of them for 76 yards on 24 routes run. 7 targets the week before that, caught 4 of them for 58 yards on 20 routes run. 6 of 6 the week before on 18 routes run, 148 yards. The primary receiver in the offense, with Debo out. 30% target share, 4+ yards per route run, tons of deep looks, tons of red zone targets. In the red zone, 3 for Ayuk, 3 for Kittle. 1 apiece for Ray and Ronnie Bell. Juwan Jennings so far untargeted in the red zone. But Juwan Jennings pretty much steps into the number 2 spot here. 2 of 4 for 26 yards on 17 routes run last week, 29 snaps. 24 snaps and 7 routes run the week before that, 1 of 1 for 19 yards. Didn't play week 4. Ray, 38 snaps with the offense last week. A little bit of a step up for him. 1 for 2 on 23 routes run, 4 total yards. He's also the return man, so it adds a little bit of dynamic potential for a showdown slate. I would have him included for sure. That amounted to 71% snap share last week. So actually saw more snaps than Jennings last week. On the average, Jennings sees way more snaps. And why is he not coming up in here? Is probably not enough. Doesn't qualify for whatever board that is. Well, we know that he was targeted. What did I say? He was targeted 4 times on what amounts to 17 routes. So in his 71% of the snaps, he ran 17 routes, 4 targets, however that works out percentage-wise. Limited share. Ronnie Bell, just 1 snap with the offense last week, 0 routes run. 14 snaps with the offense in week 5. Didn't catch his 1 target, 2 routes run. His route total, he got up to 9 in week 3. He had 2 catches on 2 targets for 24 yards and a touchdown that week. Outside of that, he has not seen more than 4 targets. 4 routes. Very limited option. And like I said, Dwelly, those other guys, pretty limited. Deshaun Thompson says Jennings captain. Let's go. All right. That's one way to look at it. He's not expensive. 6,000 in the captain role. He has a projection. It's viable. I think that's could play. Probably pretty touchdown dependent. But that tracks. Like, playing some of these skill players is the way to go in a lot of these showdown slates. You do have... that's why. You do have semi-affordable quarterbacks. These aren't actually all that cheap. 10-6, 15-9, 10-2, 15-3. It's just relative pricing, really, versus McCaffrey in the captain role. He's the clear-cut, most likely highest scorer overall, which is why, obviously, he's so expensive. Scored a touchdown in every game, at least 1 touchdown every game he's played. He's got 9 touchdowns on the season. He's Christian McCaffrey. But does he become the optimal captain because of that price and what that price does downstream? I'm not sure. I do think it pays to play some of the Ayuks, the Kittles, to a lesser extent the Jenningses of the world, certainly KJ Osbornes and Jordan Addisons of the world in that captain role. I think you could even get away with some defense in the captain role in this one. Let's look at, if you go, McCaff. Got about 10-ish minutes. Should work out. If you go McCaff, you're already limited to 6,400 per spot across the rest of those lineups. If you go Ayuk, 67. If you go to your Juwan Jennings, that leaves you with 8,800 to play with. Let's build that Jennings lineup. What the hell? So let's get Purdy in there. Going to want the correlation, going to want the quarterback. We always want quarterbacks on DK. Almost without exception, lineups on DK just do not win without quarterbacks in flex spots. Captain spot, a lot less frequently quarterback winners, but in the flex, you always want some of these quarterbacks. Let's say the Niners kind of make this a little bit of a Niners lean in this one. Kittle's probably getting greedy there. What about Eli? We're saying that he's gonna get the lead role, and then we'll give the Vikings Hawk, and we can give him Cousins too. It's not bad as a starting point. 16-ish dupes. We've got plenty of money to throw around if we wanted to upgrade the talent. You could say, like, does that work? That gives you way more dupes, though, obviously, because you're going to a super popular player if you do something like that. So actually, between these two, I prefer this one. A different Vikings receiver there. That one even gets more popular, too. Eli must not be very popular on this slate. I'm trying to lower this. Ray's drawn some ownership. There you go. Eli and the kicker. That's not bad. Leave some money on the table to get some difference in there. Cousins and his premium tight end #1 target. And kind of a Niners wipeout in which Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk don't manage to score. It gets a little thin around that notion, but that's kind of, that's the nature of these showdown slates, is that we want to play those possibles, those lineups where if a banged up Christian McCaffrey has, 20 carries, manages 78 yards, but no touchdown, 3-4 catches, but no touchdown. Ayuk has a okay day for yardage to support. So both of those can support Brock Purdy's number a little bit, but he doesn't explode because he's not throwing a ton of touchdowns to those guys. Juwan Jennings catches their 1 touchdown of the day. Eli Mitchell runs in their 1 touchdown, and Moody kicks 3 field goals. Hawkinson catches Kirk Cousins' 1 touchdown pass. You and 2 other people are splitting $500,000. Larry asks, on the San Francisco side, would you do max 1 of Jawan and Ray? Not for Showdown, Larry. I would probably I'd just let things fly. And then, the sorting, the sims, and the ownership will take care of how they come together. But no, it's viable that Juwan Jennings and Ray could both go off. Well, not go off, but, limited scoring Showdown slate, both be relevant. Trey, how do I feel about San Francisco defense at captain? I think it's viable. There's a path. We've all seen Alexander Mattison not succeed. We know that Cam Akers can easily not succeed. We've all seen Kirk Cousins have his sloppy turnover-prone days. He's without easily their best weapon. A lot of what they did in the passing game those first few weeks was supported by just Justin Jefferson being freaking amazing. Hawkinson hasn't had a great day yet this season. He had the 2 touchdown game. He had the 90-yard game, but he hasn't been great. Osborne's okay. Addison, finding his way, seems good, but finding his way, and has been serviceable / okay. 4 touchdowns on the year, but hit and miss. And going up against such a good defense, I could easily see them being viable. At the same time, like I said, I could see the Vikings being viable just with that blitz rate, with that pressure rate that they're gaining with the sacks. If they get to the young quarterback a couple times, that could turn into something. Yeah, let's say, all right, let's go Niners. That'll be a way to get McCaff in there because they're a little bit affordable. That leaves us 76 if we do that to start with. So that's not a bad starting point. Whoops, I didn't mean to take Addison. I meant Madison. Let's take Madison because then you can just get, you can have Madison going up against the grindy San Francisco D and just chalking up 2 yards per play and still coming up with the highest total on the Vikings just by virtue of yardage. I prefer doing something like that because there's no direct scoring unless he happens to get in the end zone than saying just like, all right, I'll just take the kicker, because then you do need the kicker to score against your defense there to provide you any points in that slot at all. Otherwise, you're just booking a cheap zero. So I do like the idea of going to the running back and get the idea that he's going to grind his way to 65 yards and hope that that's enough on a day where you're playing the defense and the captain, because nobody on the Vikings is doing scoring. Where do we want to go with this one? Load up on the rush game? That's just cheating because I know he's low on, though. Oh, you know what? Hold on 1 second. Oop. Let me fix that ownership on the Niners. The stupid difference between one site, San Francisco 49ers, and the other, just 49ers. And we're back. Chuck says, too bad they let Thielen go for pennies on the dollar. His 3-year, $25 million contract only has a $3.3 million cap hit. Whew. Yeah, dude can still get it done. They could use him right now. That said, coming into the season, kind of made sense. Wasn't really enough room for him. So let's go. Hell, I guess we can get Purdy in there if we want him. That'll reverse our popularity trend there. Can we take Moody? Moody, leave some money on the table. There's a San Francisco wipeout with a defense at captain that's not going to be duped all that much, and it gets you to Madison, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, the kicker. We could probably do something different with the Mitchell spot there. So you want to go like Jennings? Increases your dupes, but gives you more correlated scoring, and probably a guy who's more likely to give you a score than Mitchell is. You can even afford Kittle. Again, increases your dupes, but gives you yet another great scoring option. And that's not terrible. I mean, if you're splitting $500,000 plus 13 ways, I can vouch that's not terrible. It's actually kind of a good lineup. Again, you're not giving the Vikings much of anything, but you are playing the Niners defense in the captain spot, so that, to me, makes a lot of sense. Let Madison have his 80 yards, but not score. They hold the rest of the Vikings attack off the board. We're basically there. And he can go up. Let's say you get the one touchdown out of KJ Osborne, Kirk Cousins connection, but otherwise it's not great. He can equal that score without getting in the end zone, as long as it's not a 85-yard touchdown pass. So I kind of prefer this way of doing it rather than targeting something that's definitely going to take points away from my defense if it comes through. That said, you absolutely can go like KJ in that spot if you wanted. I don't think we can afford this one, but we'll do some surgery here. So we take Kittle out. This is putting Cousins in. So you put Cousins in, and then you give him a target. Let's say Cousins, Brandon Powell, to make a weird one. Even that is duped a fair amount of the time. But again, if you're splitting $500,000 plus 16 ways, you're pretty fine there. Oh, we got Mooney in there already. What if we gave Cousins his kicker? Oh, we're $100 short. Damn. That sucks because I actually kind of like that. God, that was 10 minutes already. All right, I'm gonna wipe this out because I did want to try and build one quick McCaffrey one for the DK folks. We're already down to 53 if you just do that. Yikes. $63 KJ and 62 Eli. going to be low owned. It's probably not great, though. KJ with no correlation with Cousins. Oh, no, we do have Cousins in there. All right. That's actually a little bit better than I thought. KJ correlated with Cousins. Moody and Mitchell, so you get the other side. You're trying to throw a blanket over the touchdowns from a rush-heavy San Francisco rushing attack. You're saying that, all right, I sacrificed my Brock Purdy to the god of Minnesota Vikings sacks to support that Vikings defense play. Even if McCaff gets one and Mitchell gets one, the hope is that they come through at a cheap price to enough fantasy scoring there, and then you get your Cousins to Osborne connection coming through. And then, obviously the rush focus supports the Moody narrative. It's not terrible. For a McCaffrey captain spot, that's not bad. There's a lot of other versions of McCaffrey captain that are going to be a lot more dupe than that one. Quickie FanDuel one. Actually, I wanted to see. Giannis agrees to a 3-year, $186 million extension with the Bucks, while flipping his middle finger toward New York City. Had a feeling that Giannis to the Knicks one wasn't going to work out. I love those. Every star that's like 3 years out, there's an article in the Post about like, oh, if this happens and this happens, and then he demands his way out of town, blah, 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 and the Knicks might get it. Yeah, right. And then this team goes out and trades for Dame Lillard and blows things up. By the way, speaking of basketball starts tomorrow. Check the site. We'll have projections up for the two-gamer sometime in the mid-morning tomorrow, probably. There will presumably be a basketball show at some point during the day tomorrow, so make sure you're coming by, keeping an eye out. Make sure that you like this show and subscribe if you haven't subscribed so that you know what time we go live for basketball tomorrow. Just a two-gamer to start things out, fortunately. 12-gamer on Wednesday is going to be fun. You guys might see me cry at some point. It's going to be a fun one. Got to get myself caught up on basketball. Probably going to be a couple clunky early shows. Oh, this guy's on this team kind of thing. But we'll get there. The projections and the model are all that matter, and the model knows all. That's all that really matters. I'm just the monkey that reads things off the screen. Anyway. Let's take a look at, like, guy I mentioned before and we haven't used in the multiplier spot yet. Really like Brendan Ayuk. Just a fan. I think he has a decent shot at having a pretty big day in the passing attack here. He'll be popular, but on FanDuel, you just deal with like a straight line of like, easy number one. However it rolls, like number one, number 2, 3, 4, or something like that. He's going to be lower owned than some of these other guys. So I think he's a decent play in the captain spot there. I like using the receivers in the captain role. Just going there with no multiplier, we still got 10,000 per spot to spend, so we're fine. We can get Purdy, and we can throw George Kittle in there in case he comes up with some of the scoring. We could probably still get Hawkinson or Cousins here. How much does that leave us? 55. Who did I say was the $5,500 guy? Oh, it's Kyle Juszczyk. That doesn't work. Come on, mouse. Oliver's 65. You can't even go that route, unfortunately. All right, so we're a little cute with Kittle in there. But you could say, well, let's give Cousins his guy to work with. Let's go KJ. If you go KJ there, you got 6. Man, it's a little more difficult than I thought, but you could use Juszczyk in that case and get it down. That's 14 times duped. Interesting. So if we went, let's get it. Try and make it a little weirder. Powell in there. Then you got 8. Can't get Joseph. Can't get Eli. Man, Eli being that expensive is problematic for these builds. Not having that cheap lever makes it a little bit more interesting. So let's say, Purdy. We do this with a little bit more of a plan. Madison. Now we can get to some of these guys in the middle. 9. If I go. Yuck. Spends all your money, but Damn, that's duped a lot. Lose me 9. What about double D? 19? That's kind of viable. Looking for the defensive struggle with the support from some sacks from the Vikings, even if they give up some scoring. Obviously, you're going no McCaffrey again, no Kittle. But this is the nature of FanDuel lineups. It's still duped 19 times, which I don't love. If you get Madison out of there and you go like Osborne, and we can upgrade one of the defenses, we can get Hawkinson in that case. 26. $65. Yikes. FanDuel not all that straightforward today, actually. Let's do one more just with the obvious. This will be even more challenging. Don't need to go to the quarterback there. Let's give Cousins and Osborne, and we're at 9. This is going to be crazy duped, though. McCaffrey is kicker. And we've got 95. I'll leave some money out here or something. How about some Ray? That'll clear us some. Nope. 53. What about Josh Oliver? Even with Josh Oliver in there, that one's duped that many times. FanDuel can get stupid with this sometimes. A more like realistic lineup. Both kickers. He's duped 90 times. McCaffrey's just so popular in that. He's like 30% in that captain role. So basically, if you go anywhere else than McCaffrey in the captain spot, you're lowering your probability of hitting the most high-scoring captain. But in the event that he is not the most high-scoring captain, you're dramatically increasing your opportunity to take the tournament down. So I'll have some, but I'll probably be a little bit under the field. I'll get to some Ayuks in that spot. Either one of the quarterbacks is certainly viable in that spot. But you can see, I mean, even when we get weird down bottom, anything McCaffrey up top is going to be duped a pretty decent amount of the time. Like, what's the weirdest but still semi-viable McCaffrey captain lineup that we can make? Probably like, all right, here you go. Come on. It's the last goddamn thing I want to show, and this mouse isn't cooperating. Replace the batteries, didn't work. Don't know what the hell is going on. Might just actually go back to the wired mouse. McCaffrey with both defenses and both kickers is going to be duped that much and leave 7,500 on the table. It's just a very, very clear paths to go down that everybody's going down with these lineups. So McCaffrey in your captain spot dupes you up pretty significantly. Again, if you're splitting on FanDuel, I think first is 150 tonight. And then, you get every prize from your 25 pals there. So if you're chopping that 25 ways, it's all right. But it's not our goal. You got to have some McCaffrey captain lineups for sure to support just the extreme probability that he is the most high scoring captain. But I'll definitely have a very healthy mix of a lot of those other guys with a lot of the skill players. The premium guys, the Kittles, to some extent the Addisons, certainly Ayuk, a little bit of KJ, a little bit of Kittle for sure. Maybe a little bit of the defense. Not sure if I go that route. Be just a little bit. But yeah, without the multiplier, I mean, everything gets so concentrated on FanDuel. Make any other decision. Anyway, yeah, thanks, Larry722. I know. Fortunately, I've got a big pool of stuff already done. I was ahead of the game as far as that goes, just because of last night's mess. I wanted to make sure. So, but I appreciate the heads up there, pal. Beantown says no one wants Harden. But no one wants to give them what they want for Harden, right? Nobody's going to give them anything valuable when he's just throwing up his hands and saying he's not going to play. So it's going to be an interesting showdown to see who bends first there. But yeah, that's obviously a mess. The question is, do I want Joel Embiid? I do, but I don't want to give up a giant core of the team and end up back where they started and just have Joel Embiid for his 30s. That's not going to get you there. If Joel Embiid was signable as a free agent, just walk him in the door and add to, yeah, sure, of course. Kind of similar with Cat, who is the guy I think in 99 out of 100 Knicks universes, that's the guy they end up with and it doesn't work. They're almost definitely going to have Karl Anthony Towns at some point. I like Karl Anthony Towns, but I don't think it gets him there, especially if they decimate the core. It's a very interesting, developing, young, defensively oriented, pretty decent shooting core. It's, Anyway, as Larry points out, it's now 7:26, and I have to go. So good luck out there. Somebody go win something. I'll see you tomorrow for basketball, gang. Later.